which led to unhygienic and inhabitable conditions within the city. With this, for the first time, cities started to rise in a large scale, started to see a large scale migration from the rural to the urban areas. Mostly the migration soil waste went down on the street. And ultimately, the low sanitation leads to the spread of diseases like cholera, plague, which kills millions of people. In 1913, Ford introduces first assembly line, which reduces time to build car and its ownership. Private automobile ownership was started to seen as a status symbol. By the end of World Wars, there was a whole new infrastructure which was developed for mass protection, from weapons to tanks to cars to household goods like TV, refrigerators. Cities are now the center of production. With job security and better lifestyle, rural to urban migration started, uh, which started cause large scale urbanization and urban sprawl. With more political stability, cities started to grow at a pace. There was need for a place to live, work, and recreation. Various model of development were envisioned for the future cities. For example, one by Frank Lloyd Wright, called Eco City, which was published in December in 1932, was an attempt to decentralize community. Here, every citizen of broad acre was a property owner. A minimum 1 acre of land or more according to the need was given, and also owner need to at least own one car, as it was primarily a transport dependent model. The scale was local as Wright mentioned, little farm, little homes for the industry, little factories, little schools, and little university. The build form was low, right with low density and are connected by futuristic highways and airports. Le Corbusier in the Radiant City, published in 1933, has vision city to function as a living machine, where he designed to contain effective means of transportation as well as abundance of green space and sunlight. Le Corbusier proposed principles has extensive influence on modern urban planning and led to the development of new high-rise, high-density technology. The model was characterized by strict landing zone. CBD was a central business district. High-rise scrappers about 200 meters high, which can accommodate 5,000 to 8,000 density. An efficient transport system in three tiers. Underground is metro, which connects larger distance of housing district. On ground is private cars for city commutes, and on elevated bridge for pedestrian movement. India's first modern city, Chandigarh, is designed by Le Corbusier, planned on similar concept, located on the foothills of Shivalik in the year 1952. The concept of city is based on four major functions: living, working, care of body and spirit, and circulation. The master of Chandigarh is conceived as a analogous to human body, which with a clearly defined as a uh, head as a the capital complex, which is sector 1, heart, the city center, which is at sector 17, lungs, the leisure valleys, with innumerable open spaces and sector 3, the intellect, the cultural and economic institutions, the circulatory system, which where the road network, which he named as 7 V's. These 7 V's are the hierarchy of road systems, and the Vishra, the industrial area. On the other hand, with more political stability, cities continue to expand further to density and to larger areas, efficiently connecting various segregated zones. Cities are now never-ending entity with enormous continuous urbanized area, which we call urban sprawl, with Tokyo being one of the world's largest metropolis with 36 million people, but at the core it has only 8 million people. Around 86 cities and towns agglomerated to form large continuous urbanized areas. Delhi NCR region is not far behind. It is the second world largest metropolis with 30 million population. Rem Koolhaas, in 1995, in his book Generic City, talk about the phenomena where he said the tremendous pressure of development and flex of capital ultimately leads to urban form which looks similar irrespective of culture and context. Consequences of building consequences of building uniform are much bigger than we think. Similar looking cities evolving irrespective of culture and context. The image shown here may be of Agra, Vishakhapatnam, or Shimla, or maybe Tokyo, Gurugram, or Greater Noida. With large-scale urbanization, we are facing issues related to rising sea level, increasing global temperature, water scarcity, and many more. Especially talking about India, 54% of the total land area is under high to extremely high water stress. Bangalore and Chennai respectively have lost 80 to 90% of their water over the last few decades. There are situations where these cities experiences flood and water shortage at the same time. Human health and well-being are also linked to the type of city we live in. Especially talking about, especially talking, there are studies which suggest urban lifestyle byproduct of city, which leads to higher risk of depression, anxiety, stress than the rural areas. Today's contemporary cities are facing challenges like environment degradation, urban sprawl, generic build form, and many more. So the question here is how can heritage come to history?
Followed the insurgents to a tunnel system.
The knowledge of historic urban design has
It's getting
taught
kind
me
of
to
late. Maybe
learn
we should
and
backtrack
harness
and break camp. Wait
context.
till light.
This is a
Station
typical
was in pretty bad shape.
pattern of traditional
So it was
development
like a
in
night in
this
the
region.
cave. Why are you always such a pussy,
Typically, the
Spence?
villages are
Such a
located
big
at the
dummy.
highest terrain.
Get ready to move.
The nearest shallow area is converted into a natural lake based on natural
Delta
slope,
03 over.
and then each village is surrounded by
Moving on
agricultural
the
land,
white.
which can produce
What do you know,
abundance
white light?
food,
Have you
not
took
only
your
for
goggles?
villages but also for the surrounding
Spence, I
communities.
want IR markers at 25-meter
The
intervals.
village's
Go ahead.
size are limited, generally depends upon available resources nearby. We can see same pattern in almost all villages where the highest
Target of
altitudes
opportunity up here.
founded the core of the village is also the place of
Your back.
importance, generally was a place of worship, while the lower contours are the villages.
As soon as you stop fucking donkeys.
This is how the
Told you I was
panoramic
just
view
petting that he was scared.
local
What's he
landscape
supposed to
looks
do?
like.
I cut the bullshit. On the
And
job.
these are the elements that constitute all the resources required for village to sustain.
Sarge.
The interdependency of the nature is important here, like the drain water collected in the pokhars, which is later used for fish cultivation, agriculture, and cattle.
Weird shit, man.
What is it?
Similarly, looking at the temple town down
Is that
south,
normal in a cave?
this is the historic
From
uh,
Rhode Island.
temple town of Sri Lanka. These towns occur along the axial pathways, processional
Sarge.
elements with concentric rings.
Parker.
The layout is rectangular or square.
Set security. Right.
At the center, temple is located.
Military age
The
man.
internal streets are aligned with single row of houses,
Trauma.
while
No trauma.
double row
Now
of
where's his fucking face
houses
go?
ranges along the outer streets. In the middle periphery next to temple complex reside the sannyasis or the Brahmins.
I got two more over here.
And then later
These must be
enclosures are
insurgents.
dedicated to
Didn't we just see
inhabitants
these
of
guys?
the town.
What kind of weapon does that to a person? Huh?
Each circular periphery is covered with a wall to protect. The wall enclosure is further connected to the entrance gateway, which is placed
So
in
on
four
a mission.
directions.
Let's get this done.
The final execution of this enclosure lead to farm and
Take
garden.
him home. Harper up.
The Mughal planning of Shahjahanabad, properly known as Old City, is planned on the basis of axis, popularly known as Chandni Chowk, which connects the Fort Palace to the Fatehpuri Bos. With an average length of about 1 kilometer, both sides of the main axis accommodate the commerce. The pedestrian lanes are narrow for shaded and comfortable movement, which accommodates Havelis and Katras. The city is walkable from the main axis and have very high density. The Spanish or the colonial towns, which later give rise to colonial cities, where a strict segregation from the local was exercised to express a social distance between the natives and the colonists in order to prevent from the spread of disease. Colonial cities use physical elements such as spatial segregation, gates, symmetrical access, and they were general bipolar cities, that is, the old and the new zones of the city coexist. This is the plan of Lutyens Delhi and their Delhi which coexist same time. Out of four indigenous development models, Jaipur and Rajasthan is a traditional modern plan city. It's a unique traditional city which respects traditional patterns and aesthetic beliefs, which accommodates the contemporary requirements. Jaipur was built by Jaisim, the Rajput Maharaja in 1727. When he shifted capital from Amer to Jaipur, Amer, there was because of the scarcity of water. This was planned along the major trade route connecting between Delhi. There was a radical shift in the planning of the city, as most Indian cities before Jaipur, such as Jodhpur and Amer, were planned on the hill with settlement low, are on organic pattern. But the city of Jaipur has a grid iron orthogonal plan, which is conceived on the footing. A clear hierarchy was followed, very similar to Temple Town in south, where the religious center was at the core, surrounded by political center or the palace. Then was the largest layer of Havelis and houses protected by gates and walls. The city is divided into various zones. People were allocated land based on their profession, occupation, and caste. The plan is a fusion of Indian and Western planning. Jaipur plan initial concept is taken from Vastu Shastra, traditional Indian philosophy, but also responded to the local context, that is due to the presence of hill on the top. The grid was shifted to from this grid was shifted to this side. These two central blocks were merged to accommodate palace, and the rest were for the residences and the commerce. Each sector block is of equal size, that is of 800 meter by 800. The main road on the edge of the sector is of commerce. On the main axis, east part of the main bazaar street where sun rises known as Surajpur, and on the west, which is known as Chandpur. The street junctions, known as chowpar, is the three times the width of the street, which is about 100 meters by 100 meters. The chowpar is important for wayfinding and act as a large public square. It is used for festivals and gathering. All the important temples and significant havelis of the ministers and the merchants were marked on these chowpars along the axis. The residential area with a square grid of 800 meters, the main bazaar, which made the main bazaar road walkable to 400 meters from any point, with internal subgrid of 160 meter to 160 to 110 to 110. This pattern of houses, which are of varying size but has courtyard in between. The internal subgrid, which is also known as mohalla, which accommodates 40 to 50 houses. Along the roads are the commerce or the workshops, which gives unique character to the street and brings legibility in the form and helps in wayfinding, while the inner part accommodates all the residences. These streets combined with square create a network of open public space that goes till the household. These gates, the interconnected open space, accommodates library, temples, residences, and garden. There is also climate responsiveness in the fabric of Jaipur. The urban structure, due to its compactness, reduces radiation absorption from the sun. The width to height ratio is such that the heat absorption only takes place on the upper floor. The sunlight never reaches to the ground, which further helps in keeping the streets cool throughout the year. Further, the staggered narrow lanes act as a passage but also helps in breaking the flow of strong, hot, dry winds. The main bazaar streets are public and semi-public edges. As explained in this section, the distinction between the commerce and the residential street is as at the ground floor. At the ground floor, the commercial street contains shops that are shaded and shaded by the arcade running the length of the block. And on the above floor,
Yeah.
on the above floor, there is residential private area which often approach from the stairs to maintain the privacy. Inside the block, it is quieter, and the narrow street allow building to shade themselves while the residential window open in this space. This is a typical section uh, where the ground floor is mostly used as a public space, like for sitting, for business, for trade, or local shop, while the upper floor are used for private. Haveli typology also evolves around the courtyard. The activities of the residential unit revolve around this place. The courtyard is an enclosed space from all four sides, but is open to sky, which allow light and ventilation. The social status of the people who reside here is judged by the number of courtyard they have. Haveli ranges from the single courtyard house to establish multiple courtyard houses like this. Uh, mostly the residential, mostly the residential unit is divided into two sections. That is the Vardhana, the front, which is occupied mostly by the males and the outsiders, and the Dhanana, which is uh, uh, which is occupied the female of the house and is located at the back. The female can known male of the community is allowed to. Mr. Bhatti wrote in Jal Vigyan in 1953 about the need of jalis for good and healthy living. It keeps the house ventilated and provide light. As you can see in the image, the jharoka window with stone jali is used for visual connection and cool breeze. It acts as an element of aesthetic and beautify the place. It allows one to watch outside without letting outsider to peep inside. So, in conclusion, we can say that the traditional city and its structure do not promote urban sprawl but urban density, generic city but unique city, car oriented model but walkable city, segregated land use but mixed land use, And at the last, resource exploitation, but resource sensitive. I would say instead of looking outside for the solution, India with vast, rich historical heritage and culture, there is a lot to relearn and explore. Thank you. अच्छा कितनी टाइप्स ऑफ फैमिली मैंने बताई है मोहल्ला का साइज कितना बड़ा था जब हाँ 800 कितने तरीके के प्लानिंग मॉडल्स मैंने डिस्कस किए हाँ बताओ ठीक है याद कर दिया थैंक यू सो मच
Thank you, sir. It was indeed a very well-defined and well-presented presentation. Let's give sir a big round of applause. Since we have reached to the end of day 3 of the training course, Heritage and its Dimensions, I would like to thank all our distinguished speakers for their interesting and captivating sessions. We now have high tea for all our guests. We shall begin day 4 tomorrow at sharp 10 a.m.
It's a request to all the audience to be here on time tomorrow by 10 a.m. I can assure you tomorrow's two sessions are going to be very interesting. First two sessions by Professor Smriti Saraswat, who is coming from IIT Roorkee, and Dr. Aishwarya Takaswamy. Especially for the students, you are going to learn a lot. If you will miss that lecture, you are going to miss something very important, very interesting. मिस करने का ऑप्शन वैसे है नहीं तुम्हारे पास आना ही है तुमने ठीक है सो विल स्टार्ट राइट ऑन टाइम फाइन